Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. Our current session is about what is style. I hope and expect by the end of this session you would be able to understand the term style and its use in sociolinguistics. Well, my dear students, the social factors in relation to language variation are not only determined by the factor who is the user of a language, but there are other sources of language variation as well that correlate to the situation of use. For example, degree of formality or informality of speech depends on the occasion or the situation in which, language is being used. And this is where actually the term style comes in. So what is style? If I define that, style refers to the ways of speaking. That is how speakers use the resource of language variation to make meaning in social encounters. Style, therefore, refers to the wide range of strategic actions and performances that speakers engage in to construct themselves and their social lives and their social identities. I would refer to Yule 1985, who has made a very significant observation in this regard. He says there is a gradation of style of speech from the very informal to the very formal. One greets, how do you do, instead of how are you, according to the situation and relation to the addressee in this social context. According to Yule, there are, many examples of such kind of uses. He has given the examples, for example, of French, where tu versus was is used. This tu was, combination, I would compare it with, how in Pakistan, for example, in Urdu, we use tu, tum, and aap. So, in very informal situations, we use tu. In comparatively formal situations where there is an equal relationship amongst the speaker and the addressee, we use tum. And in more formal situations and with elderly people, the style changes and we use aap. Yule has given examples from other languages as well. For example, from German language of the use of du and si, and from Spanish of tu and usted. Well, in sociolinguistics, if we talk about style, how the term is used, it is a set of linguistic variants with specific social meanings. To explain that, I would say, there are certain meanings that are attached to tu, tum, and aap. When somebody uses tu, it naturally connotes that there is a very informal relationship, there is a lot of friendship, or that the addressee is very inferior to the speaker. Whereas the use of aap creates a situation or a complete picture that is completely, opposite to that. So, in this context, social meanings can include group memberships, personal attributes, and beliefs. How do I think about somebody? How I have certain beliefs? What is my attitude towards a particular situation or a particular person? This would make my style choice, different in different situations. When it comes to linguistic variation, actually linguistic variation is at the heart of the concept of linguistic style. Without variation, there is no, basis for distinguishing social meanings, because variation can occur, in different situations, and variation does occur because this is what shapes our societies and this is what creates our identities through the variant styles that we adopt. It can occur syntactically, it can occur lexically, this variation can be phonological as well. Note that a style is not a fixed attribute of a speaker. We cannot say this is person A's style and this is person B's style. The same person, that is person A, can have different styles of speaking depending upon the use. In different situations, like register and jargon that are use-based, style is also use-based, and this is unlike a dialect in that sense. Additionally, speakers often incorporate elements of multiple styles into their speech, either consciously or subconsciously, thereby creating a new style. Depending on the situational needs, speakers would switch from one style to the other. Sometimes they would combine certain styles to create a new style that would fit in the new situation. As far as Lebov is concerned, he has given 5 principles with reference to this. A, there are no single style speakers. What does it mean? Style shifting occurs in all speakers to a different degree, and interlocutors regularly change their linguistic forms according to the context. We cannot say style A is for person 1 and style B is for person 2, and this is how it always remains. No, this is not so. The second point that Lebov has made is styles can be ranged along a single dimension measured by the amount of attention paid to speech. This process of style shifting correlates strongly with the amount of attention paid to the speech. If you are very conscious of in which situation you are talking, to whom, etc., your style would be more, peculiar. If you are not conscious of that, it would not be. The third point raised by him is the vernacular in which the minimum attention is paid to speech provides the most systematic data for linguistic analysis. So what does it mean? Vernacular is the original base mode of speech learned at a very young age, on which more complex styles build later on in life. So, it is the early learning at the early stages of life that affects style. The fourth point that he has raised is any systematic observation of a speaker defines a formal context where more than the minimum attention is paid to speech. Well, what does it imply? It implies even formal face-to-face interviews severely limit a speaker's use of their vernacular style. And the last point that Lebov has made is face-to-face interviews are the only means of obtaining the volume and quality of recorded speech that is needed for quantitative analysis. This is what purely from the point of view of research Lebov has pointed out, and this refers to the quantitative aspects of analysis in which Lebov himself was very much interested. There are different other approaches to the study of styles. Modern approaches to the style include indexical order, which is given by Penny Eckert. Penny Eckert's approach of indexical order says linguistic variables index a social group, which by association leads to the indexing of certain traits that are stereotypically associated with certain social groups. According to this theory, any linguistic variable has its own indexical field spanning any number of potential meanings that can be associated with that particular style of language use. And the meanings are actually associated with the variables that are determined by social context. So, the style is determined by the social context in which it is used, by the speakers. These indexical fields, according to this theory, are fluid and they keep on changing depending upon the use as well as the usage. The second theory related to style is based on ideology, and actually it was Judith Irvine who gave this concept of style with reference to ideology, and she emphasized the fact that a style is defined only within a social framework. People as groups, as nations, they have their social identities, which are called ideologies, and these ideologies translate into style. Thus, according to this theory, a variant and the social meaning that it indexes, that is what is style, and they are not inherently linked. Rather, the social meanings exist as ideologically mediated interpretations that within the social framework, people ideologically choose for themselves. The third theory that I would like to point out is of stance taking, and according to this theory of style is best viewed as consisting of smaller, more variable units known as stances. What stance do you want to take in a particular speech? How do you want to be seen? Which perspective you want to take, and which perspective you want to convey to the other person. A stance actually is also a way of contextualizing or contextualization. What does a stance indicate? It indicates the position of an interlocutor with respect to a particular utterance or a conversation. In that conversation, what is your perspective or what is your point of view? The fourth way of viewing style is style shifting. And according to this theory, the style a speaker uses is dependent on how much attention the speaker is paying to his or her own speech. You know, when you are very conscious of your speech, your style would be different. When you are not very much conscious, your style would be not that prominent. Additionally, each speaker has a very natural style as well, which is defined by the style the speaker uses when paying least attention. And by the way, for this, casual style is used as a term.